All right, IM1 classes. Today we're talking about midpoint formula. So basically all this is you're going to be looking at a segment where you're going to be given 2 points and you're going to find the midpoint between those 2 points, or the midpoint of that segment. The midpoint is the point that is directly in the middle. So don't overthink what a midpoint is. It is exactly in the middle between the 2 points. So let's look at that example. Given a segment, finding the midpoint. So a lot of kids can just do this intuitively by looking at the graph and finding it. They can see it's going to be the halfway points can be right about there. If you're not good at identifying that, what you can do is kind of make a triangle out of your segment, and then you can count the side lengths of this triangle, right? So we have this side length here is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we go halfway, so go halfway here and go over, we can see we can find the midpoint right there. Or if we go, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we go halfway, so 3 over, you can see the midpoint right in there. All right. One thing you want to do, the assignment today is going to ask you to write the coordinates of the point. So from here, if you go down, the x coordinate is -2. The y coordinate, go over the y, is 6. All right. What this looks like on the problem in Edge Elastic. Let me switch over here. So problem looks like you click on the point, find where the midpoint is, and just drop the point where at the midpoint, and then scroll down here, put your x coordinate, -2, and then the y coordinate is 6. All right. So next problem, let's do a couple more examples of that. So again, if you want to look, you can make a right triangle to find it here. So go down and then over. So this side is pretty easy. It's this side is 2. So if I go halfway, which is 1, then up to the line, I can see the midpoint's going to be right there. Erase that. So my midpoint is at 2, 1. One more problem on this one. So here, make the triangle so you can see the side lengths to cut in half. So this one's a little easier. This has a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4. So I go halfway. So 1, 2, go down. That's right on the x-axis or y-axis, excuse me. So my midpoint is right there. Coordinates to that point are 0. This is on the y-axis, -3. All right. So what happens if you're not given a graph like that to find the midpoint? What do? Well, you can use this formula. So the midpoint formula, basically you're finding the average of the 2 points, and right in the middle, the average. The average, some of you may be familiar with the term a mean. So a mean is where if you take a set of numbers, you add them together and then divide by how many numbers you added together, that'll give you the mean. All right, you might remember that from 5th or 6th grade. But then with the mean of the y, so what you're going to do is you have your 2 points, take the x coordinates of the 2, take the mean of them, so x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then you take the y coordinates and find the mean of those, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So let's look at how this works. So we have our 2 coordinates to find the midpoint. So this is an x, this is a y, this is an x, this is a y. It's actually, you're finding, I'm going to do the x's first. So I'm going to take these x coordinates. So 1 and 5. So 1 plus 5, 2. 1 plus 5 divided by 2. 1 plus 5 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. So that's the x coordinate. Now I'm going to do the y coordinate. 4 and 10. So 4 plus 10 divided by 2. 4 plus 10 is 14. Divided by 2 is 7. So the average, the midpoint is 3, 7. All right, let's look at another example. Try again now with some negatives. So with the negatives, you do the same thing. You add the x coordinates. So this time, I'm going to do the x's in green just to color code things a little bit, and I'll do the y's in blue. So I'm going to just set this up so everything is all set to go. So the x is in green, so -4 plus 2, and then you divide by 2. -4 plus 2 is -2. Divide by 2 is -1. Now the y's, so it's 9 and -3. So 9 plus -3 divided by 2. 9 plus -3 is +6. Divided by 2, +6 divided by 2 is 3. We found the midpoint. All right. So for the next one, find the midpoint with the 2 given endpoints. So this is a little bit different because we're not going to end up with whole number answers. So I'll do the x's in green again. So this is an x. Here's the other x. And then a y and a y. And then I'll find the average of the x's. So to find the average of the x's, it's going to be -3 plus -5 divided by 2. Keep working with that. -3 plus -5 is -8 divided by 2. And then -8 divided by 2 is -4. Now I'll do the y's. This is 9 plus 4 divided by 2. 9 plus 4 divided by 2 is 13. Divided by 2 is 6.5, all right, or 6.5. So use a decimal. I think that's just easiest with the midpoint here. Don't do a mixed number. So if it doesn't come out to a whole number, just in a decimal, 6.5. All right. Last type of problem is, so be careful when you read these directions. So you're going to be doing all these on a graph. So given an endpoint A and the midpoint, find and plot the other endpoint C of segment AC. So what this is saying is M is the midpoint of A and some point C. So we need to find where point C is going to be over here. And so the deal with the midpoint is the midpoint needs to be the same distance from A as it is from C. So all you need to do is count how many steps it takes to get to the midpoint from A, and then you take that many steps from the midpoint to get to C. And when I say steps, don't count diagonally because that can get confusing. Count how many steps vertically, so up or down, and then how many steps to the right or left. So for A, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and then to the right, 1, 2, 3. So to find and plot point C, I need to do the same thing from the midpoint. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and then to the right, 1, 2, 3. Plot my point C. So now the midpoint is right in between A and C. You do need to list the coordinates. So when you're on Edulastic, don't forget to scroll down to the bottom to put in the coordinates. So that's the X coordinate. If I go down to the X is 4. The Y coordinate, go over to the Y is 7. or 7. All right, so let's look at another example here. Find the midpoint. So again, count how many steps it takes to get from A to the endpoint or the midpoint, and then take that same number of steps to get from the midpoint and to find your new C. So from A, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and then to the right 1. So I'm going to do the same thing from the midpoint, 1, 2, 3, to the right 1. Plot my point right there. So there's point C. Coordinates of that is -3, y is 1. X is -3, y is 1. One last example. So find the new the endpoint C. This one's actually easy because you're only counting up. So from A to get to M, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to get to the midpoint. So you get point C, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plot my point right there. So that's point C. X coordinate is 2, Y coordinate is 2. So it's 2, 2. All right. And that's all I have for you. Assignment is on Edge Elastic. Go ahead and get that done. Make sure you email me with questions, and we'll see you guys next time.